Celebrating entrepreneurs and creativity. Talking business, pleasure, real life get together. Join us here.
Oh, hey, guys. Welcome back to the Creative Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm so excited. I am joined today with the one and only Daniella Genas from She's the Boss. But before I give Daniella her flowers and the introduction that she deserves, I just want to quickly shout out Route 36, the production team behind the podcast. They always do a fab job. Matt is here working away and making me sound absolutely amazing and look absolutely amazing. So thank you, Route 36. And yeah, let's get to it. So as I mentioned, we are joined today by the fabulous multi-award winning business growth strategist and friend and mother and wife and just an all-round fabulous, did I say friend? Fabulous person, Daniella Genas. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the intro. Appreciate it.
So I know Daniella really well. But for those listeners out there who don't know Daniella, do you want to just give a brief introduction about who you are and what you do?
So I'm the founder of She's the Boss International. So I support ambitious entrepreneurs to build and grow profitable, sustainable, systems-driven businesses that are not reliant on them. As you said, I'm a business growth strategist. I'm also an innovation expert. So what does that mean? It means that I know about all things innovation, and I would say that I have increasingly over the last kind of few years been quite instrumental in supporting a number of entrepreneurs to grow their businesses by up to six figures in many cases, at minimum by at least 75%, focusing on vision development, innovation, so developing new products, services, new ways of doing things, systemizing their businesses, as well as looking at kind of marketing, PR, personal brand development, all things business growth and business innovation, really. I started my first business. So She's the Boss is my third business. First business, Aspire for You, was an event management and youth training CIC, which, true, you were a trustee board member. Second, Alternative Wedding and Events. You was my business partner. And then She's the Boss is my third business. And essentially I've kind of utilized all of the skills, the lessons learned, the experiences of running the first business, and kind of also I'm going to start waving my hand around. Also my academic experience. So I have an MBA and a master's in enterprise. I'm an alumni of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. So I've kind of taken all of those experiences, all of my education, and started a business to help other people learn from my mistakes, I suppose. And also from my successes, because they weren't all mistakes. Some great things happened, and I'm helping to impart my knowledge and expertise with other entrepreneurs who want to scale quickly to six figures and beyond.
Wow. Honestly, there's so much in there to unpack, and that success rate of more than 75% of businesses and entrepreneurs who you help grow exponentially. I mean, that for me is just incredible. And I've known Daniella for as I mentioned, many years. Actually, I mean, our journey's been quite, and I'm just going to point out from now, like listeners, as I said, we are friends. So you are going to get some conversation in there. You know, we might sidetrack a little bit, but, you know, just bear with us because, we haven't caught up in a little bit. But I've known Daniella for many years. And actually, I think our first encounter was at the Drum Art Centre.
You were my manager.
Yeah. So Daniella at the time was studying for an MA.
No, that was my undergrad. Media and Communications. It was my BA.
Okay. So Daniella was doing a BA, and I was one of the managers at the Drum Art Centre. It was Europe's biggest black-owned or black art centre, or something like that. And it was great, actually.
It was fun.
And then Daniella went on to launch Aspire for You, her own organisation, and then asked me to come on board as chair. I served on the board as a chair for 6 years. I
forgot you was the chair. I was like board member. No, you was the chair.
I was the chair.
Sorry.
I was the
My
chair. Bad. I think I served on the board for about 6 years. we had so much fun, but we cried a lot and we stressed a lot and, you know, we were sued.
Yeah, there was a lot of ups and downs in that business. It was an amazing experience, and I always say that actually, even though we had so many kind of major challenges, including being sued, without those challenges, I wouldn't be able to be as good as I am at what I do now. So I don't regret that those things happened. I see them as a stepping stone to my current success and future success, really.
Amen to that. And yes, and then we launched Alternative Weddings, which then we both was co-founders of the organisation. Then Daniella went off to have a baby, amazing Marnie. Shout out Marnie, just absolutely amazing.
Crazy child.
We'll speak a little bit about her later because I'm not sure we can do this podcast without reflecting on her character. And that was good. And then I carried on with the business, and then Daniella launched She's the Boss. Then came as my business coach. You see how this just turns around? Then came on board as my business coach. Daniella helped me with every facet of Candy Girl and also my personal brand. I remember sitting down and doing a one-page strategy. And I don't know if you remember this.
Of course I remember.
Okay, good.
Clearly.
A one-page document strategy about how I want my personal brand to look. So back then, my personal brand was nowhere near what it is now. And I was flustered. I was thinking, who am I? What am I doing? I was a relatively new entrepreneur, and I needed that guidance in terms of how do I want to show up. And I just remember like Daniella saying, right, we need to do this, we need to do that. And literally, it was just a one-page document strategy that I still have to this very day. And actually, you guys listening, if anybody wants that one-page document, then what you need to do is you need to follow both me and Daniella. Daniella's at She's the Boss. Daniella, do you want to give your...
Oh, yeah, on Instagram at She's the Boss UK, Twitter, She's the Boss INTL. And also, you can just go on my website, which is she'sthebossintl.com.
Yeah, so you need to follow Daniella. Also, drop me a follow, but also review this episode of the podcast. And then I will be picking 3 people from a hat to send this one-page strategy document of personal branding. And that is the document that I live by today. I revisit it all the time, and I do not change it in terms of the length or the style or format of it. It works really, really well. I just make a few amendments, but it's a fantastic strategy document. So Daniella helped me massively with that. Massively big help with Candy Girl, guys. Candy Girl was a mess before Daniella. We had no systems, no processes. And for those listeners who are new to me and the podcast and don't know what Candy Girl is, that's Candy Girl spelled with a K. Candy Girl is the UK's first children's salon, and we exist to make every young child feel fabulous and special through the gift of pampering. And I can say that really, really well because Daniella taught me how to say that.
I remember working on that line.
She taught me how to have an amazing value proposition. And it was just incredible how we built the business, how we built, I guess, the systems and the processes. And we are going to get into that. But I just wanted to make everybody aware that you're the person behind the growth of not only my personal brand, but also my business brand. And, you know, you deserve all of the flowers publicly on this podcast. And it's not just me that you work with. You work with so many other people, and I don't want to steal that. So do you want to explain a little bit about who you work with and how you've helped them?
So what's really interesting is people always say, is there a particular industry or sector that you focus on? And actually, I work across industries and across sectors. And what I've been really lucky in being able to do is to develop a framework and kind of a methodology for supporting businesses to grow that works in so many varying different industries. So obviously you've got Candy Girl, the principals worked in Candy Girl, but I've also worked with art fabricators, laser cutters, a education recruitment company, a salon spa recruitment company, hair and beauty, Caribbean catering. So there's so many different businesses that I've worked with that the principles and the philosophies and the frameworks work. in terms of some of the kind of biggest success stories, one of the companies that I talk about quite frequently is Neo Enterprise. And I started working with them in 2019. They were kind of just scraping by on £15,000 in 2019. 2021, they've just recently completed their annual accounts and they've turned over £480,000. They're projected to do 1.3 million by 2022. And actually, since doing their annual accounts, they're currently on like 600 and something thousand pounds. And that's, I don't ever say that I have made anyone, because I think that everybody has a responsibility to do the work themselves. But I have helped and had a kind of a contributing factor in helping them understand kind of what they need to be doing, what their vision is, the strategies that they need to employ, but also moving away from just the straight kind of business-focused support that I provide. I think what's also important is the kind of confidence stuff, knowing that there's somebody there that can. So I know the founder of Neo Enterprise, Oyen, for example, and there's a variety of other entrepreneurs that feel the same, know that if there's a challenge that they have, if they're feeling down, if they need some motivation, they can give me a call, they can rant, they can vent, and yeah, I'll be there to kind of boost you and kind of lift you back up. And that's really worked quite well. So it's not just coaching. So people would say, oh, Daniella's a coach. I say I'm a business advisor because I combine coaching with consultancy, with mentoring, with training, with accountability. So it's kind of a holistic package of support that I provide. Neo being, as I said, one of the biggest success stories, but I've had others. Car Buying Guru, another company that I started working with in 2019. 2019 was a good year because I'm sure that was the year that we was working together as well. And Car Buying Guru. So, sorry, in fact, let me go back. Neo Enterprise, they specialize in empowering black women through tech and through hair. And they have split their business kind of into two. When I initially met them, they were just a social enterprise. Now they have a social enterprise side and they have a more commercial side. Car Buying Guru, when we met, so Car Buying Guru, they do car leasing, car sales, and they're a digital platforms, and I believe one of the UK's first kind of purely digital car dealerships. When we first started working together, Gavin, who runs it, shout out to both Oyen and Gavin. Gavin was, I didn't even know at this time, was still working, doing, I don't even know what he said he was doing, some random evening job. Working from home, we would meet at the Village Hotel in Warsaw. Now, Gavin has just moved into his second office space, hit the six-figure mark quite some time ago. I had a call with him yesterday. He is about to take on a whole new range of staff. So he'd already taken on some staff last year. He's taking on more staff this year. So again, two completely different industries, two completely different type of entrepreneurs, but both have achieved significant growth under the support that I've provided. So yeah, I love what I do and I love seeing the successes. I love seeing the growth. I love seeing the development. It makes me feel like I'm living in purpose and walking in purpose. Makes me happy.
And I think that's absolutely incredible. And I can attest to the fact that you are that person that you do the work. If you are working with Daniella, you do the work because you do not want the cussing. You do not want your phone to ring and be like, True, have you done the work? Or that message to come up and you're like, True, have you done the work? And you just do it because of that. And honestly, having that, people underestimate accountability. Accountability is absolutely, it's just so crucial when you're trying to grow a business. Because as humans, we can just sit back and think that, it's going to happen and take the lazy route. But when you've got someone behind you that's pushing you and questioning whether you've done it or not, and it's not what you say, it's just that side eye. You just like,
yeah, I'm trying to work on my poker face. I'm not very good at it.
And you just like, you don't want the side eye, so you're going to do the work. And I think that's incredible. And I think Oyen and Gavin, I know, because I remember being on the same cohort as them, and they're doing absolutely fantastic work, and I'm loving seeing the growth. And I think that that's so important. I want to touch a little bit more on coaching, because when we speak of coaches, I know the world and its dog is now a coach, and it's a big pond with everybody in, and it's quite hairy fairy in some parts. And what is it that you think that makes a really good standout coach? I would say that you are probably one of the best coaches out there.
Thanks. I agree.
So what should somebody do if they're looking for a coach, a business coach? What do you think are the things that they should be asking and things that they should be doing in terms of research?
Well, first and foremostly, their credentials. So who have they worked with? What do the people that they've worked with say? So one of the main ways I get clients is because my clients speak to other people. I share the success stories, I share the testimonials, I share the case studies. I am not just walking around saying, yeah, I can help you with your business, and there's no evidence that I'm able to do that. The evidence is there. I always say my results speak for themselves. I don't necessarily need to give a long list of all of my credentials, although I do from time to time. You can just look at what my clients are doing and see where my clients have come from to know that I'm good at what I do. So I think that that's where a lot of people fall down. They get caught up in the smoke and mirrors. So they'll hear people say, oh, I'm a 6-figure coach, I can help you do 6 figures. Who have they helped make 6 figures? Have they made 6 figures themselves? When I talk about 6 figures, I can say I can help you make 6 figures because I've helped a number of people get to 6 figures and beyond. I've worked with a number. I've got a couple at the moment I'm working with, 7-figure businesses. I didn't get them to 7-figure businesses, but they respect and appreciate my credentials enough that they're happy to allow me to support them in continuing to grow beyond 7 figures. So I would always say, look at who they've worked with. And also, I don't necessarily believe that you have to have qualifications to be a good coach. I have qualifications, but I don't have coaching qualifications. I have business-focused qualifications. But actually, even without those business qualifications, I still think I would be a good coach. I would be a different type of coach because I wouldn't be able to be so clear on the kind of frameworks, etc., that I've learned through my education. But I still think I'd be very good at motivating, at kind of the goal-setting stuff and the general support. So it's not that you necessarily need to look for a coach that has the education or has a coaching degree. It's all about kind of how they support their clients. I think that's the number. I don't really think there's anything more important than that, to be honest.
Okay, brilliant. So, guys, you need to be looking at the coach's credentials and also their testimonials. How have they helped other clients? But obviously, if you're listening to this podcast and you're looking for a business coach, then you actually don't need to look no further because Daniella is here. And her DMs are open. So please, if you are interested, then just shoot her a DM, and I'm sure she would help whilst we're speaking on that. But I love kind of what you said, and I love how you help, and you touched upon framework. And I know working with you, you are all about frameworks, structure, systems, processes. Why is that so important when growing a business?
Well, I suppose for me, the reason I became so interested in it is after selling my first business, and you was there, so you'll know, but for those that don't know, I didn't want to sell the business. I had grown it to a specific size, and then a load of different things happened and conspired that led to me then being in a position where I wasn't able to continue to run it. Now, after I'd sold it, I kind of sat back and was reflecting on the lessons that I'd learned, the mistakes that I'd made. And one of the key things that I was looking at was actually, had I built a business that wasn't reliant on me, at the point that I was having to step away from the business, I would have been able to leave staff to run it and I wouldn't have had to sell it. So a friend of mine, Nathan Anibaba, shout out to him, he has a fantastic podcast also, Agency Deal Masters. He started coming around and was saying, look, we need to start reading books. You can't just be sitting here being a mum, because I just had my daughter. You'd think that would have been enough. Like, why can't she just sit there and be a mum? But that's a separate issue. And he said, we need to get you doing something. So he said, let's do 52 books. 52 books in a year challenge. And I read this book, The E-Myth Revisited by Michael E. Gerber. And basically it talks about the idea that a lot of people are technicians. So they start a hairdressing business because they can do hair. They start a bakery business because they can bake cakes. And actually what happens is they then cap themselves. They're not able to grow. They're not able to kind of live an entrepreneurial lifestyle. They're a business owner because they're doing a lot of the day-to-day activities. And what he speaks about is actually building a business that is reliant on the system. So if you are a hairdresser, how do you do hair and train people to do hair in the way that you do it? If you're a baker, write down your recipes, train people to utilize your recipes and get them to bake the cakes. And that was a real kind of eye-opener for me, because I thought, well, actually, had I done the same thing, I loved event management, I started an event management company. Had I just trained people in how to do the events, but also not just the events, the different elements of the business, and sales was an area that I was terrible at, the business would have continued. So that was kind of the first thing. The second thing, the second book was, it's a book and a film, the story of McDonald's. I think the book is Grinding It Out by Ray Kroc. Again, it was looking at kind of franchising and how you can kind of build this empire, but the franchising is kind of centered in the idea of processes and having standard operating procedures and specific ways of doing things. And the film, which is great, everybody should watch it. I cannot remember what it is. I think it's The Founder, in fact. Yeah, it's called The Founder with Beetlejuice, whose name, I can't remember the name of the actor, I just know it's Beetlejuice. Michael Keaton. Really good film. Again, and it made me stop and say that had I taken that approach with the business, even though I didn't want to franchise it, you don't necessarily have to, you don't have to franchise a business to build it in the way that it could be franchised. And actually, if you build it that way, you're building a strong systems-reliant business, not a founder-reliant business. And so those kind of two things. Then there was another, I'm just giving loads of books here, but add them to your list. The other book was The Fascinating Millionaire by MJ DeMarco. And I'm sure you remember, I was raving about that book.
You made me read it like 3 times, but it was a fantastic book. I was
obsessed with that book. But again, it talks about kind of the sidewalkers, so the people that are just going to always be walking in life and they're going to go to their job and go home, and they're not going to ever kind of make it big. Or even if it's a business, they're capped because, again, it's relying on them. And actually, he speaks about the fact that you want to be in the fast lane, so you don't want to be trading time for money. And I think all of those 3 kind of books and the film and lessons learnt from my business kind of got me to understand that actually, if you really want to build a business that can grow without you having to kind of burn yourself out and run yourself into the ground, if you don't want to be a slave to your business, then really the systems and processes is the key. And from then, that's in terms of when I then launched She's the Boss, I've really been focused on looking at how do I support entrepreneurs to build businesses in that way. So I've developed a range of services that really helps entrepreneurs to do that. There's going to be a few things that I'm hoping to launch later on in the year and early next year that helps entrepreneurs not only to understand how important it is to not have a business that's reliant on them, but also give them the tools, the knowledge, and the understanding of how to build it in a way that allows them to go on holiday or to be sick. Because this is the thing. And a question that I ask all of the clients that I work with, if you fell ill tomorrow, would your business continue to operate without you? And if the answer is no, then you're building it wrong. It's vulnerable. You don't want to be running a business that can't cope without you for a couple of weeks, even a month. And it's funny because right now, obviously, my business is quite dependent on me because She's the Boss. However, I was sick a couple of weeks ago. My business continued running quite fine without me. I wasn't able to deliver like my one-to-one stuff, but money was still being made. Although I have my kind of outsourced admin support, I have marketing team. So reliant on systems and processes also includes looking at kind of things like outsourcing, but it's about a mindset, and the mindset needs to be the business has to be able to keep going without me, even if it is for a week. So yeah, I don't know if I answered the question, if I went off on a long tangent. But
No, but it's true, and it made me start to think about my business. And as you was talking, and now we have these conversations many times, but as you was talking, I was thinking about areas in my business that may need support, or do I need a system there or a process there? And so I thank you for that reminder. It just in terms of kind of setting these systems and processes, what are the kind of things that people should be thinking about? Like how do they make those steps to do that?
Well, the easiest thing that you can do right now, today, is when you're doing things, write down how you're doing it. And that really is the stepping stone for all of it. That's really the most basic level, and there's obviously so much more than that. But on a very basic starter level, write down what you're doing. Everything that you do, write step by step what it is that you do and how you do it. And what you really need to be thinking about is creating a wiki, essentially, for your business. So like a how-to guide. So the way that I typically frame it is, if somebody came in and they've never heard of your business, they don't have any understanding of the industry, and you ask them to do a specific task, how would you explain it to them? And write that down and do that for everything. And actually, it's not a quick task. It's something that you have to do over an extended period unless you hire me to come and do it for you. But it's such a valuable thing to do, because then when you're taking on staff, or even if you're outsourcing, you've got a document that you can hand over to them that ensures that they deliver whatever that action or task or whatever it is in the way that you want it to be done. There's so many businesses and business owners that I've supported who say, oh, I've hired this person and they're rubbish at the job and they won't do it how I'm supposed to do it. And I'm like, well, did you tell them how to do it? Yeah, I told them once, and then it's like they didn't follow my instructions. Well, did you give them something written down? No, but I told them. And as disrespectful as this may sound, because it probably does, assume that everybody that comes into your business is an idiot. If you start on that level and provide all of the information that even an idiot would need, I hope that you're not going to be hiring idiots, and therefore whatever you provide them with, they're going to therefore be able to understand and follow it. What we often do is we assume that everybody that we hire are geniuses, that they are, and if not geniuses, they're the same as us. Nobody is going to be as passionate about your business as you. Nobody's going to know your business more than you before, like, as they enter the business. So why do we assume straight away and immediately, well, I've told them they should just be able to get it? You need to put the kind of structures and the systems in place to kind of support them in getting to your level. They're not going to walk in and be at your level. And I think a lot of the time as entrepreneurs, and this applies to me as well when I was running the first business, we just assume that everybody has common sense. Common sense is not common. And actually, I don't believe that any member of staff is performing poorly because they're just performing poorly. I think it's because you've recruited them poorly, or you've managed them poorly, or you haven't given them the right systems and processes in order to do their job effectively. So as a starting point, write everything down. And this is something that I do. Even yesterday, I needed to send an email, and I was like, I'm sure this is like the third time I've sent this email. Right, I'm going to create a template. So instead of writing the email that I was going to write, I actually just wrote the headings, and then beside each heading, I said what needs to be in that specific section, and then I saved that as a template. Then I opened it again, removed all of the kind of comments that I'd written, and then wrote the email based on the template. And it's really as simple as that. So for so many areas of my business, I don't have to start anything from scratch. I just go and open the template. And therefore, when I started working, for example, with my assistant, Virtual Correct, shout out to her, she's the best. I just sent over all of my templates. And so many of my emails have just, the template is a picture of me with some words on top of it and some pictures underneath. I just sent them all to her. So she was then able to very quickly start sending out emails on my behalf because they were all there. She didn't need to ask me what needs to be in this email because I've already given you the template. So yeah, templates and writing things down, I'd say, is a great place to start.
And I think what you was just saying there is so powerful, because there's so many benefits of having systems and processes. It's quicker, it's efficient, it's training, it's a benchmark for all of your staff to perform at the same level, or at a minimum standard of level. It helps you with investment if you're looking for,
I was going to say, even from a big perspective, if you're looking for investment in the future, if your business is focused on systems and processes and not you're going to be much more attractive to an investor or a buyer. And you might be thinking, well, my business is only turning over a couple of £1,000s a month, nobody's going to invest, or nobody wants to buy, or I don't want to sell. But you don't know what's going to happen in a couple of years' time. And actually, you want to build the best business that you can. So whether you want to sell or you want to get an investor is really not the point. You should make sure that your business is robust enough, is organized enough, is strong enough that actually, if at some point somebody wanted to come in and invest, they wouldn't be worried thinking, well, actually, what happens if you get sick? I'm going to lose my investment. Or somebody wants to come in and buy it from you and say, well, actually, if you're taken out of the business, this business is going to fall down, so why am I buying it? Build a business that enables you, that if you decide to get up and go on a holiday for 6 months, or, well, it's not really a holiday, but you know what I mean, that the business will be able to continue and you don't have to panic and think, oh my gosh, I've got to close the business because, and not even a holiday. A holiday is a good example. If you're in a co-founding situation, I was speaking to a co-founder yesterday, I think it was, So there's 2 of them in the business. And I said to him, what happens if the co-founder just vanished? And he was like, well, why would he vanish? And I was like, I'm trying to be nice about this, but what happens if he drops dead? Like, what really would happen? Because he's doing so much of this part of the business. You don't have it documented. If he dropped dead tomorrow, the business would absolutely fall to pieces.
And not just that, it's people act like co-founders don't walk out, but let's go back to Aspire for You.
Well, yeah.
You know, some co-founders will just get up and walk out through a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
So you still have to protect that interest.
Yeah. And not just co-founders, members of staff. So again, it's not just about the business not being reliant on you. It's also about the business not being reliant on key members of staff. So another client that I was speaking to last week, their marketing manager was going on maternity leave, and he was freaking out, saying, I don't know how the business is going to continue because, well, not how the business is going to, I don't know how the marketing function is going to continue because she's done everything and everything's in her head. I'm like, well, why would you allow her to have all of that information and not get her to write stuff down? And she's got some time before she goes. So I said, get her to start writing down all the areas of what she does and create some templates, create some how-to guides, even if it's easier, get her to record voice notes, whatever it is. But you need to get that information out before she's gone, because otherwise you're going to spend how long retraining somebody else in her step and lose how much money in the process and time in the process.
And the thing is, and I remember you saying that to me in terms of kind of getting the systems and processes for Candy Girl, and I was like, right, I'm going to. And I remember you saying, well, just voice note it, and I was like, you're right. So what I did is I recruited a couple of interns from BCU. Shout out Warren and Nicole and the team. And I literally, I had them for about a month. And I literally just sent them the voice notes and said, you now need to transcribe this in the templates that was provided by Daniella, and give me the systems and processes. And yes, at the time, it felt like it was a lot of work. And yes, we had to go over stuff and do stuff, but it was a worthwhile exercise. And if you are listening to this podcast and you think, oh, this is just too much work, then Daniella actually offers this as a service, I believe.
Yeah, so there's 2 ways you can access the service. The first is the Build My Business consultancy package. So, in fact, funnily enough, you were kind of the testing ground for that, because I remember coming to the office and sticking all the Post-it notes. There was like 1,000 Post-it notes on the wall.
Hang on, I just need to set the scene for the listeners who... So we were in the office and literally there was every single department that we could think of that was in the business. So customer services, sales, telephone sales, marketing, HR, like every department that you could think of. And then we literally went into detail about the functions of that specific department. And I was thinking to myself, why are we doing this? Like, I just remember thinking, oh, this is too much. Daniella's being just too extra. But literally, when we recruited our first staff member, immediately I knew that that was the right thing and the best thing to do, because it meant that training was just on point and everybody knew what they were doing, and there was a standard of service.
Yeah. And yeah, so you was the testing ground. I then started doing it with my other client as part of my kind of business advisory service. And then one of the clients who, like you, at the time when I'd been telling him how to do it, was like, this doesn't make it. In fact, I'll just say who it was Gavin. He came back like a year later and was like, oh my gosh, I'm taking on staff. And I realized why I needed those processes, but I don't have the time to do it now. Can you just come in and do it with me? So then that's how the Build My Business service kind of was created. So essentially, I come into your business, whether virtually or physically, and I go through the whole business with you and map out everything. So I map out every department. And even if you're a one-man band and people say, well, I don't have departments, it's only me, you are multiple departments. And it's still important to map those things out. And even if you're going to be a one-man band for a while, it's still important that you have standardized ways of doing things, because you want to make sure that you're consistently offering a certain level of quality. But also you can then look at how you can automate things. So that's what I do. So I will say, okay, these bits can be automated. You can use this piece of software for this department or for these kind of number of processes. We then create an operations manual, both a physical and a digital one. I will then write a report recommending any additional systems that you should use. If you've got staff, I will do a training session with your staff. And that's the Build My Business service.
Wow.
So
That's
it's kind
a
of,
lot.
it's high ticket because I do a lot and it takes a little while. But if you can't afford that, I'm going to be doing every quarter. So there's one on the 23rd of July. There should be another one in probably November. Half-day masterclass where amongst a group of people, I will teach you how to do all of the above. So I'll teach you how to map your processes, which processes you should be mapping, how to identify your kind of top-level functional areas, your secondary functional areas, how to create your how-to guides and your checklists. I'll also be providing a number of generic templates, which pretty much all businesses need. So they're already created for you. You just put your logo on and make any amends. Because part of the Build My Business service, I would also help to create the checklists, the how-to guide, the templates for you. So if it's all feeling a little bit much, like actually I can't do this, you can access either the masterclass or the service.
Okay, I love that. So that brings me to the next question, just about kind of business growth. So you're an entrepreneur, you're desperate to grow. You really want to scale, but you're not quite sure how. And I know this is a broad question, but what are the things that you should be thinking of in terms of if you really want to grow? So I'm presuming that systems and processes is going to be one.
Yeah, so you can follow the Visa framework. So the Visa framework is what I use to support my clients that has been proven to help them grow. I did it with you. I've done it with all of my other clients. So first and foremost, Visa stands for vision, innovation, strategy, systems and processes, and accountability. So the first thing you need for entrepreneurs that really are ambitious, that really are not just saying they want to grow, because we know that there's people that say it, but they don't really want it. If you really want it, you need to identify what that growth looks like. And I do that through something called Vision 20, where I help my clients map out a 3-year vision. And I recommend that everybody has, whether they do Vision 20 or not, has a very clear and broken down vision for 3 to 5 years. Where are you trying to take the business? Where are you trying to be in life? Because I think that's really important as well. Because there's no point building this kind of 6 or 7 figure business that you have to be in every single day if actually you want to be on a beach somewhere. A bit pointless. So be very clear on where you're trying to take the business, what goals you need to be achieving, what strategies you need to be employing. So that's the first thing.
Close your eyes.
I love that's my favorite. So in the Vision 20 process, we do the whole vision, and then at the end, I get my clients to close their eyes and I read it back to them. And it's really one of my favorite things to do. The amount of people that I ask them to close their eyes, I read it back, and by the time we get to the end, they burst into tears.
Honestly.
And I'm just like, the first time it happened, I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? I was so shocked. But then now I get a bit annoyed if they don't cry, because I'm like, why are you not crying? This is a powerful moment.
It really is. I can't lie. The first time I did it, I was like, close my eyes. But when I listened to where the business was, but more importantly, where I was and what my relationship was with my children and my family and all the things that are important to me, it was just really powerful. And I was like, I want that.
Well, and this is why it's important. And with so many of the clients that I've done it with, they've exceeded their Vision 20. So it's a 3-year vision, but I've seen people achieve that 3-year vision in like a year. Because once they say, set the vision and make it plain. And once you have done that, you then have a direction of travel. So you know where you're trying to go. So you can say no to opportunities that are not going to get you there quicker. You can say yes to those that will, and you can relentlessly pursue those. But what we often do as business owners, we just go with the motions. Like we say we want success, but we have no clarity on what that success actually looks like. So I advocate for you being very specific with exactly what that success looks like. So that's the vision. I is innovation. So look at constantly innovating. I love that phrase, innovate or die. And I always use the same example, probably boring now, but Blockbuster. Blockbuster for me typifies that innovate or die. There was changes within the marketplace. People were going more digital. For those of you who are too young, Blockbuster did videotapes, VHSs. You'd hire them for a couple of days and take them back. As far as I'm aware, Netflix approached them and said, do you want to partner up or whatever? Because we're going to do this digital thing. They said no. now everybody has Netflix and people don't even know what Blockbuster is.
There's one store left, isn't there? Like
that
one
must just be a
store.
memorabilia store. 'Cause who has a VHS? And they tried a little bit because I remember they started doing Blu-rays, but that was kind of redundant because what is a Blu-ray now? Oh, yeah, it was a Blu-ray, wasn't it? So you're not Blockbuster. I'm sure nobody listening, and I'm sure you're not Netflix either. But if you want to build a thriving, growing business, you can't afford to be stagnant. So you need to be continually looking at how to improve your existing products or services, to improve your the ways you do things in-house, so your systems and processes, but also looking at creating new ways to serve your market. So it could be introducing new products or services or introducing new elements to the business. And I think that's really key if you want to achieve growth. Strategy is obviously key, and part of strategy is looking at your external marketplace, so what's going on in the world. So a lot of this stuff interlinks as well. What's going on in the world? There's a variety of tools you can utilize for that. So like there's a pestle analysis that I talk about a lot, blue ocean strategy, which I'm a diehard fan of the blue ocean strategy. But looking at also who your target customers are. So one of the reasons a lot of business owners are not able to grow at the pace that they want to is because they lack clarity on who they're targeting. I've lost count of the amount of business owners I speak to, and I'm like, who are you targeting? Everyone. I'm like, yeah.
I remember doing the customer persona.
What do you mean, everyone? You need a customer persona that really breaks down exactly who your target customer is. I'd say give them a name, give them an age, be as specific as possible. And so many of us don't do that. We're just, okay, someone or women.
And you know what? People get offended when you say, actually, no, they're not your target market. They think, oh, well, yes, they are, because I need those sales. Well, actually, you do need to target one specific person, as it were, to help you. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. People get scared that if I niche down too much, I'm going to lose money from these other people. But those other people are not your target market. And actually, when you niche all the way down, you're then going to be speaking to your target market in the language that's going to attract them. So you get more of them by targeting them than you will get of all of the others if you're targeting everyone. It's like this idea of scattergun approach. You throw paint at the wall and hope it sticks. But actually, if you target a point in the wall, it's gonna stick because you keep shooting in the same direction. So all of that is part of strategy as well.
Do you remember when we had a meeting with Laura? I think it was before we was launching alternative weddings from was it Birmingham Mail or Trinity River at the time? And she actually we were sitting there and she actually used that analogy, like it's like if you're throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it sticks. We was doing our customer work and just remember.
I didn't remember that, but I remember. Now you've said it. But yeah, so once you're clear on who your target customers are, then you can look at strategies for attracting them. As opposed to what people do is the other way around. They create their marketing strategies or their engagement strategies and then try and work out who are we going to do this for? You should do it the other way around. So strategy is really key. So looking at, okay, this is the vision. How are we going to get to that vision? Then VISS, systems and processes, we've already kind of touched on that, but that's obviously key. And then accountability. So accountability is key. I'm a coach, I have a coach. My coach has a coach. It's really important if you want to achieve any level of growth in your business that you have someone that's holding you accountable, whether it's a coach or accountability group, a mastermind. There needs to be some level of accountability, not specifically because you're lazy or because you might not make any progress, but because business is busy. Like, there's always lots of things to do and it's quite easy to get kind of caught off track. Even me. Sometimes I get kind of pulled in a different direction, and it's not necessarily a direction that I don't want to go in, but it's pulling me too far away from the other priorities that I have. So my coach will come back and say, well, what's going on with this? And it's funny because my coach is to me what I am to everyone else. And when she deals with me, how I deal with my clients, sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, is this how I treat people? Is that how they feel? Because it's a bit much at times. But I think it's really key as well. When you look at kind of competitive sports, you don't see Usain Bolt trying to be a 100-meter Olympian on his own. He has a coach.
And Serena Williams.
Yeah, they all have coaches. And why is that? Because the coach brings out the best in you. When you may feel like you're at the pinnacle and you can't go above, the coach will tell you, actually, yes, you can, and you have to. And I think that's why if you want to achieve growth, having a coach is really key. Even for me, my coach, and I shared this when I did a talk a couple of weeks ago, my coach set me a financial target to hit in a month. In January.
Let's talk about Miracle May. Let's talk about Miracle May.
She set me this. She set me this target, and I was like, I don't know about all that. I don't know if I can hit that. Like, I think I can, but I don't think I'm going to hit it this year. Maybe next year I'm going to hit that. And
I remember having this conversation.
Yeah,
I actually remember having this conversation.
She's mad. And January I didn't hit it. But actually, what was very interesting is January was more successful than December. February, I didn't hit it, but February was more successful than January. And I realized this is going up. So whilst I'm trying to hit this figure that I don't think I'm going to hit, although I'm not hitting the figure, I'm hitting a new figure every month. May, I hit the figure, and not only did I hit it, I doubled it.
Share the figure.
So
it's a safe space.
So she said I needed to do 10K a month in sales. So we need to also make the distinction between sales and revenue. So I didn't have 10K come into my bank account, but I accumulated, that's the word. I accumulated 10 grand worth of sales on the 10th of May. So I was calling May Miracle May because on the 10th of May, I had 10 grand in sales. So in terms of that 10 grand, it would be paid over like a 3-month period. By I think it was the 18th, I did like just under 15 grand in sales. And then by the 23rd, I believe it was, I don't remember the dates, I'm just making them up now. But for May, I did, I think it was just over 21,000.
Wow.
In sales. Now, just to break this down, in January, I think I was doing like 3 grand. So in terms of the jump, it was a very significant jump.
Wow.
And I put that down to the fact that my coach gave me the challenge, and I'm not somebody to back down. I don't like to lose. So I went for it. And she then came back and said, do 40K, and I haven't done that yet. But when she said 10K, I was side-eyeing her. When she said 40K, I said, okay then. Because actually I realized I can do this. Mm-hmm. It was me telling myself that I couldn't, but she knew I could. And that to me is the power of having a coach. And I'm sure you can attest to this because I also remember having conversations with you about awards, about speaking. I remember you saying, actually, I can't do public speaking. And here we are on your podcast. So do you know what I mean? I think that is the power of having a coach. A coach can encourage you to do things that you even yourself don't believe that you can do. So it's not about, and not even just a coach. As I said, masterminds are great as well. I do Sprint for Growth every quarter. So I've got another one coming up in August, and that's like a mastermind kind of growth group. So we meet every week for 8 weeks. We set targets in that session. Usually there's between kind of 5 to 10 people. But you have to publicly in the group say, right, by next week, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And then you come back and you do X, Y, and Z. And it's the kind of the shame factor. Nobody wants to come back and be the only person that didn't do it. So it pushes you outside of your comfort zone. Whereas if you're on your own, it's highly unlikely that you're going to kind of, not that people do set goals on their own. I set goals on my own, but there's nobody to hold you accountable for achieving them. So if it does feel a bit hard, you may say, actually, maybe next week. Whereas if you know you've got to report back to a coach, a mentor, a mastermind, an accountability group, an accountability body, you're much more likely to do it. So for growth, for me, that's what it is. Vision, innovation, strategy, systems and processes, and accountability.
I love that. And just in terms of even when you're speaking about coaching, it's particularly if you're a coach, you know, unless you're paying for a coach, it's that kind of like that cognitive dissonance. Like you can't expect people to pay for your service if you're not.
Yeah, it's funny. I was on the 0121 podcast a couple of weeks ago, and that's one. They said, "Well, do you have a coach?" And I said, "Well, of course. How can I expect people to pay for me if I believe in the process of coaching if I'm not gonna buy into it myself?" So as I said, I have a coach. My coach has a coach. I'm sure my coach's coach has a coach, but I don't know her, so I don't know. Haven't been given the intro yet.
It's kind of in some ways like that generation, like grandma, mother. Bless. So you've done a hell of a lot. You've achieved so much. I can't even sit down and list all your credentials because they're longer than my sleeve. But I also know some of the challenges that you've gone through. What would you say were? I know you kind of mentioned one in terms of Aspire for You and having to sell that, but what would you say your top 3 challenges were and how did you overcome it?
That's a very good question. Well, the first one was being sued for, what was it, 30 grand?
Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
That was the first one. And actually, I laugh about it now, but at the time, it was devastating. So I'd fired somebody. Apparently, I didn't fire her properly, even though I paid a HR company to support in making sure I did it properly, which to be fair, I'm more bitter still about that than I am about the woman that sued me, because I just think it's so ridiculous. But yeah, so she decided she wanted to take me to employment tribunal for 30 grand. We were a social enterprise, so we didn't have 30 grand to give away. It's ridiculous. And actually, even if we did have 30 grand to give away, we're taking that out of the lives of the young people that we were impacting. And
just side note, can I just say, whilst we were being sued, we had another employee in the workplace literally ripping everything off and taking all of our framework and ideas and building her own company on the side, which was an exact replica for what we were doing.
Not what we were doing, what we were paying her to help us do. So that would be the second challenge, actually. Intellectual property. So when I speak about strategy in the visa model, intellectual property is part of that as well. Having a strategy for protecting your intellectual property, and that is really key. So not just getting trademarks, but making sure that stuff is copyrighted, that it's protected, that you have legal representation is really key, because in both of those instances, it took a lot out of me. Like, I remember at one point my hair was falling out. And I remember punching a steering wheel of my car, because I remember my legal representation saying, "Oh, we will only go to court if it's a 51-49 to you to win, and at the moment it's 50-50, so we can't go to court, so we're going to have to settle." And I remember saying, "She's not going to get my money," and punching the car, what do you call it, steering wheel. And I always remember the guy saying, "Look, she's not going to get all of it." So it went from like 30 grand to 3, which is hilarious in itself. But I remember just being so deflated, so demotivated, and just feeling like, what is the point of this? I'm out here trying to help these young people, and I've got this old woman trying to rip me off. And then this other woman's coming and stealing my intellectual property. But it really taught me, again, the value of systems, making sure that you've got robust processes in place, and actually bounce back ability. So I went through those 2 things. Then it wasn't all that long after that we sold the business. And that really is where my mantra of think big, take action, keep pushing. The keep pushing part.
How have we not mentioned that yet?
Because I didn't come in the t-shirt. I was going to, but I didn't think it was fancy enough. So yeah, my mantra, it kind of came from having these kind of big, because I always had a very big vision, not just for that business, but for my life. Like, I still do. I believe that I'm destined for greatness. So think big. And also, a lot of the people that I encounter, they're afraid to think big. So for me, it's my job to kind of get them to understand that their potential is limitless. Take action, because in order for me to kind of build the business to where it was, and even this current business to where it is now, because I was taking consistent action. So there's lots of people that say they want success, say they want the accolades, say they want to build their businesses. But then when I'm asked them what they're doing to help that happen, they're not doing half of the stuff that they're supposed to be doing. People that will say, "Oh, I've been running this business for so long and it's not growing, and this thing keeps happening and that thing keeps happening." And when I ask, I'm sure I asked you this question because I ask everyone, are you doing everything in your power that you need to be doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to get to where you need to? And if the answer is no, then I don't really want to hear your complaints, because you're not taking action. But then the keep pushing comes from, we face obstacles. And in my first business, I honestly, there's not many things that can happen to somebody in business that I can't say, well, yeah, that happened to me. Like, and had I just decided to give up, I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing now. I wouldn't have ever started another business. I would have said, actually, clearly this is not for me. Didn't work out the first time, I'm not doing it. But I didn't. I continued to keep pushing. So they're the kind of 2 challenges. They're the main 2 challenges that kind of inspired that keep pushing thing. And then the third being selling the business. Other than that, I don't think anything else was that. Like, I fired some more people. Someone else stole some other intellectual property, a very big council in the West Midlands region that I'm not going to name, but they stole my intellectual property as well. So yeah, there's been a lot of challenges, illness, family illness, family kind of bereavements. There's lots of things that I've endured and kind of managed to keep pushing from, but I would say that all of them have helped strengthen me and also enabled me to know that I can, like, there's not many things that can happen at this point that I'm not going to be able to come back from, because there's not much, touch wood. Like, I don't want it, like, we don't need to test the theory, but I don't think that there's many things that could happen that are worse that I'm not going to be able to come back from. Somebody asked me, one of my other clients, and I'm also a trustee for their charity, First Class Legacy. Shout out to Nathan and Sabrina. Nathan asked me the other day, are you ever scared that you're going to lose it all again? And I said, it doesn't even cross my mind, because actually, even if, God forbid, I did, I know the steps I need to take. I know the tools that I already have that's going to enable me to rebuild. Like, I don't fear that anymore. It doesn't cross my mind, because I know I can do it. I've done it, and I've helped other people to do it. And therefore, keep pushing is something that I'm going to kind of embody till death, really. Hopefully death is a long time away, but you get my point.
So we spoke a lot about business, and I know you as a businesswoman, but I also know another different side to Daniella, the raver before or pre-COVID.
I'm still a raver, even during COVID, in my kitchen.
The wife, the mother, the friend, the party host, and so much more. Just this podcast, I love to share that actually entrepreneurs are not just business. There's different sides to them. So just share a little bit about kind of what you do outside of business and outside of your job and helping others.
I eat. I love food and I like to cook. So I do spend quite a fair bit of time cooking and eating. As you said, I love music. Like, I'm actually obsessed with music. So you can often find me during the lockdown period having a party all alone in my kitchen with my headphones in.
And Daniella can actually sing, but she would never sing. And I'm just like, but you've got a voice. Like, why are you not using this voice?
So yeah, you'll find me singing my heart out in the kitchen and dancing. I love doing that. I love to read as well. So.
And just before we move on from music, like, me and Daniella have this thing all the time about Brandy and Monica. I'm team Brandy.
Monica.
All day. and for some reason, for some bizarre unknown reason, Daniella thinks that Monica is better than Brandy, and I'm just confused.
Brandy. I love Brandy, but I just feel like Monica is better, and I don't want to hear anything about the tone, because I know that's your favourite line of defence, but her tone, I don't care. Monica, I think, is better.
Brandy's the vocal Bible, but anyway, carry on.
But yeah, I love to read. Obviously, I said before I did the 52 books in a year challenge, but actually one of my proudest moments in the last few years was building my IKEA Kallax bookshelf, floor to nearly ceiling bookshelf in my office at home, and filling it with all my books, because I love books. And that was a moment like, Mum, I've arrived. I have a big, massive bookshelf with books on it. I'm part of a book club.
Shout out Lorna, my favourite mum in the whole wide world.
But yeah, I love reading. I'm part of the book club, so you can normally catch me either with a book in my hand or listening to Audible. Love listening to podcasts. That's another thing. And then, yeah, just spending time with daughter and husband, really.
And how is my favourite niece? Just, yeah.
So I've given birth to myself, but not myself as a child. Like, I have a 5-year-old, and she is me now. So who I am now is nothing like, as a child, people often don't believe it. And if you speak to my mum, she will confirm, as would all my family and those that were there. I was very quiet, very shy, always, again, had my head either in a book or doing some sort of like something. Like, I was sewing, I was doing Connects. Remember that Connects building thing? Like, I was always busy. My granddad used to call me Busy Bee, because I was literally always doing something, but I was very quiet. And therefore, I expected that I was going to give birth to a child that was very similar, because my husband was also very quiet. And then this child has come, and she's like a tornado in my house. She's loud, she's confident, she's hilarious. Like, if we got her a YouTube channel, she would be a hit, like, because she's absolutely crackers. And everyone that comes into contact with her says the same thing. Like, she's hilarious. So yeah, she takes up a lot of my time. She's full of attitude. So it's really a challenge, I suppose, trying to balance not spending too much time on work, but making sure I'm giving her the time and attention that she needs, but also getting her to see that mummy is a boss and you can therefore be a boss too, but not that you're going to be neglected. And I think that's, for me, that's one of the most beautiful things about what I do, is that I then have the flexibility to, I do the school run in the morning. My husband during lockdown, thank goodness for lockdown on one level, he picks her up, but then when he brings her home, I'll do homework with her, or she'll be in the kitchen with me whilst I'm cooking. So we're able to spend that time. But I suppose the challenge for any parent that is an entrepreneur, entrepreneurship is a 365 days a year, 24 hours a day kind of role, but so is parenthood. So trying to balance the two and making sure that you're not neglecting the business, but you're also not neglecting a child is a juggle. But it's one that I take on, and she seems to think I'm doing a good job, so I hope that I am. But yeah, she's got a lot of attitude, so that's a challenge. Trying to keep it in check, especially when I've got the same attitude. So I say a cheeky thing, she says something even cheekier back, and I find myself having an argument with a 5-year-old like she's a grown adult. And I have to say, Daniella, she's 5. Why are you doing this?
Absolutely love it. I'm so here for it. Okay, so Daniella, we can obviously speak for hours and hours and hours, but we know time is of the essence. So I just want to wrap it up. I just want to thank you for coming on the podcast. But guys, before Daniella leaves, we are doing our 10 in 10, and our 10 in 10 is all about asking entrepreneurs 10 questions, one or the other. So Brandy or Monica, and you must say Brandy. To the first answer that comes to your head, basically. So let me find out where my options are. And you have to choose one or the other.
Oh yeah, no, I like this game.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Nike or Adidas?
Adidas.
Beyonce or Rihanna?
Rihanna. Rihanna. Everything. Bad girl Riri. That's my girl.
What?
No, Rihanna every single time.
Oh my goodness me. Audi or BM?
BM.
Rush Hour or Bad Boys?
Bad Boys.
Burger King or McDonald's?
None.
One or the
Burger
other.
King. I hate Burger King and McDonald's, but...
ASOS or Boohoo?
Ooh, ASOS.
Tupac or Biggie?
Tupac.
J. Cole or Kendrick Lamar?
J. Cole.
Facebook or Instagram?
Instagram.
Podcast or books?
Books.
Lovely. Daniella, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And you guys out there, you know what? If you really like this podcast and you've got some value from it, please follow Daniella. Do you want to give your...
Yeah, so you can visit my website, www.she'sthebossintl.com. I'm on Insta at She's the Boss UK, Twitter at She's the Boss INTL. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm trying to be a bit more active on LinkedIn, Daniella Genas. And I have a YouTube series, She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Stories. So check that out.
Lovely. Thank you so much. And if you guys liked it, then please like, share, review, all that good stuff. But until next time, see you guys.
Talking business, pleasure, real life get together. Join us here.